Well, it's happened again, hasn't it? Just when we all thought things were getting back to somewhat normality here in Cambodia, and I'm sure the citizens of Thailand as well, things took a drastic turn yesterday, Wednesday, the 12th of November 2025, where some civilians were badly injured. I believe one of them was a child, and I think potentially one of them has died. There's different reports about different things. But let's just recap and go back a little bit. Go back to July this year, so we'll go back 4 months ago now, and the writing was on the wall that things were about to escalate on the border between Thailand and Cambodia. Thailand closed the borders off to people crossing, land crossing. You could still fly, that was no problem. You could still go via Laos and come into Cambodia if you wanted to, but you couldn't go from Thailand to Cambodia or Cambodia to Thailand across the other borders that separated the two countries. The borders were closed. Lots of people lost jobs because of it, because if you've ever been to any of those borders, you would see there's quite a lot of residents from both countries that gather around in the mornings, crossing the borders for work or hoping for work. So all of those people suddenly found themselves out of jobs, and then they started obviously being cut off from food supplies or other types of supplies between the two countries as well, because they just couldn't get them across anymore. The borders were closed and it was too expensive to fly them across. And then at the same time, there was a lot of troops from both countries congregating around the borders, showing their strengths, I suppose you could call it, to each other without anything sort of really happening. And then all of a sudden, people started being shot, bombs started going off, people accusing each other of doing this, that, whatever. That's not for me to decide on. I'm just I live here permanently in Cambodia, but I'm still realistically a tourist here, aren't I? I'm not part of it. Obviously I have Sophanny and I have family here, but I also have family in Thailand as well. Australian family in Thailand. So I don't really want to get involved in the political side of things, but I will say this, is that for those people that were living around those borders on both sides, it was probably an extremely scary moment for them. And some of the older generation probably seen this as almost deja vu for them again, after going through what they've been through the Khmer Rouge time. And a lot of them were scared. I know Sophanny's mum mentioned it, because she was in one of the camps. Even though she's not in the border, she's here in Phnom Penh, so 10, 12 hours away from where anything was happening. She mentioned to me she mentioned to Sophanny, I should say, about talking to me about whether or not I should stay here in Cambodia, which was a no-brainer for me. I was always going to stay. I wasn't going to run off and leave everybody behind. That would just be pretty gutless of me as a human being to do that. That went on for a couple of weeks, and there was a lot involved in it, and there's heaps of videos about it. There was lots of fake stories, there was lots of true stories, there was heaps and heaps of stuff getting on. And then things settled down, and 2 weeks ago there was an agreement signed in Malaysia between the two presidents of each country that they were going to, ceasefire and peace agreement and all the rest of it. I mean, the shooting and everything had already stopped anyway, so it's just a matter of them two coming together and having an agreement in place. In the meantime, from when it started to this time, Thailand had also stood down their Prime Minister, and a new Prime Minister had come into place. And those two, the new Prime Minister in Thailand, Prime Minister of Cambodia, had got together, and there was plenty of footage kicking around of them too, smiling, shaking hands, you know, having a little joke with each other, swapping their name tags around in this meeting and bits and pieces. So it all looked pretty good. It looked like things were going to get really, really normal, which was fantastic for everybody, especially the citizens of both countries. But I guess in hindsight, when you look at that, it was not going to stop then and there, was it? And the reason why I say that is because of the soldiers, the Cambodian soldiers that are still being held in Thailand, weren't released. Why? I don't know. As I said, I'm not a Cambodian person. I'm not in their political parties. I don't understand why. You hear all different rumours and stories, and that's not for me to decide. You know, that's between the two countries to work out between themselves, and I'm sure one day they will eventually get there. It just hasn't happened yet. And so that was one thing that probably stood out, that this wasn't just going to end just yet. And then the borders were still closed, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, you guys have signed a peace deal. All you got to do is open the gates and let people start crossing again. And it's not just affecting the people that lived on the borders, it's also affecting other towns. Like when this conflict happened and all these people were displaced, and if you've watched some of our other videos where we did a trip up and went and visited a lot of these people that have been displaced. You see how many people that it's actually affecting, and it's also affecting towns like Siem Reap, who rely heavily on tourism, where there's loads of buses every single day going backwards and forwards from the two countries. Well, those buses have just stopped dead. And, you know, a lot of those are backpackers that are coming in between the two countries, and, you know, they're not spending lots, but they're spending enough to help keep things like tuk-tuk drivers employed, restaurants making a little bit of money, hotels making a little bit of money, visiting Angkor Wat, all of these types of things. So these are all suddenly being affected, and I'm sure they've felt the effects over on the Thailand side from that as well, because, you know, as I said, these people travel between the two countries, and suddenly that had stopped. And I know a personal friend of ours who's a tuk-tuk driver, Mr. Penn, who looked after us when we went up to that trip. He's doing it really, really tough, like really, really tough. And he wanted to donate his time to us whilst we were up there, and we didn't want that. So we paid him well above what, you know, the going rate was, because Sophanny and I know Mr. Penn for a number of years. Him and his brother actually used to do work for us some time ago, and beautiful family, and they were really doing it tough. So, you know, if we could give them a little bit extra work and pay him a little bit more for it, it wasn't going to kill us to do that, but it was certainly going to make life a little bit easier for him and his family. Excuse me, I've had the flu for about a week. Man flu, worst disease in the world. And so going back to what's happened again, you know, like, as I said, you could see the writing was on the wall that this wasn't over. Prisoners are not being released, borders still not opening, peace agreement being signed. Did that peace agreement mean anything in the long run? I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I can't answer that question. But what I do know is that yesterday, from all reports that are getting around, that some Thai soldiers entered into Cambodia and started firing. Was it unprovoked? I'm going to say yes, it was unprovoked. A few days before that, there was reports of some Thai soldiers, and there only been reports. I have not seen any evidence whatsoever of this on any type of reports, that some Thai soldiers were injured in a landmine blast. Cambodia has said that the landmine was actually from a long time ago. Who knows from when? I mean, back in the Khmer Rouge days, these landmines were planted everywhere. If you do some research on Cambodia, you'll know that it's actually one of the worst countries in the world for landmines, which is why they have a place like Apopo Rats in Siem Reap. These trained rats actually go and find all these mines, and they're clearing them all out. And I think they're being well and truly on top of it now, but obviously there's still a lot more out there. So these mines could have been sitting around for 50 years that these soldiers have accidentally stood on. We don't know. Nobody really knows. There's no, as I said, sitting here in Cambodia, I've heard about it, but there hasn't actually been any reports that it actually did happen. So was this attack that happened on Cambodian soil provoked from that, or was it unprovoked? That's the question here. Now, where is this going to lead to? You know, is this going to escalate more? I don't know. But I'd say there's a hell of a lot of tension getting around right now. And the Cambodian people are very proud people, as I'm sure the Thailand people are very proud people as well. And they obviously want to support their own and look after their own in that. So when all these reports start coming out, and I've seen all the footage of the people that they injured yesterday, Wednesday, 12th of November, and those injured civilians, I think one of them may have even passed away. As I said, you hear different stories. I've heard that there was 4, I've heard that there was 5 people. I'm not 100% certain, but there's truth to that because there's videos, footage. So it's either 4 or 5 people, and possibility one of them was actually killed. And one of them was a child as well. At least one that I'm aware of anyway. They've been now transported into Phnom Penh today, as of earlier today, Thursday the 13th of November, for treatment. The soldiers that stood on the landmine a couple of days ago, the reports say that one lost a foot and the others were treated for minor injuries. As bad as that is, and as sad as that is, should you take revenge and just waltz into a country and start opening fire on civilians? For me, I don't think that's a very good idea at all, because in the tension that's there already, it's not going to just be a one-off situation. I hope that it is, and I hope that it doesn't escalate any further, and I hope that the countries can somehow work it out. Because I love living in Cambodia, and I want to stay here, as do a lot of other foreigners. And there's a lot of people who love living in Thailand, and I love visiting Thailand. I think it's a beautiful country as well. And as I said, I have Australian family in Thailand, so I want to be able to go and visit them. I don't want to feel scared about doing them, scared about going over to there. Often when my own children, like my daughter who was here a couple of months ago, she flew in via Bangkok. I don't want her to be scared of doing that either. You know, she has cousins from Australia in Thailand, so, you know, she should be able to go and visit them. And nobody wants to be scared of going and visiting a country. And we've all, as Westerners, we've all loved visiting, you know, Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, not as much as the others, but, you know, we all love going to these countries because we find them amazing, and to see and hear what's going on is actually quite sad. You know, I look at it like this: it's like 2 football teams that have come out and they've crossed over that white line, and they have what they call white line fever, and they're protecting their home turf. But the problem is at the end of the game, they're not shaking hands and having a beer together. These people are actually killing one another, literally killing one another. And some of the crowd watching, bystanders going on, are being caught up in it. And that's pretty sad. It's quite sad. So leave your comments down below. What do you think? What do you think of this whole situation? Have you been to Thailand? Have you been to Cambodia? Do you love these countries? Do you want to support these countries in whatever way, shape or form you can? Yeah, leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear other people's insights, because sitting here in Cambodia, I hear what's going on here. I don't necessarily hear as much as what's going on in Thailand. You kind of get cut off from it. So I'm guessing that you guys watching back in America, England, I get viewers from all over the world, Uzbekistan, or however you pronounce it, Scotland, Dubai, all over the place actually, Australia, obviously, Canada, America. Do you guys hear about much of this sort of stuff that's going on? Have you heard about what's going on in the last few days? So leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and what you think. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I need to go back and assist these people again. Like, I only did a very small part, and thanks to some of our viewers for donating money towards that. Happy to do it, but I don't want to do it, because you're doing it because of a result of something bad that's happened, and we don't want to continue that. Really, we don't. We just want everybody back to normal. Especially Cambodia, where I live. They're beautiful people, peace-loving country, a country a fifth the size of Thailand. They've been through enough with the Khmer Rouge. They still suffer from it. And the younger generation here are making a real crack of this country now, and they're really turning it around. People that were here even 10 years ago that come back and visit talk about how much Cambodia has changed, and it's developing really, really, really quickly, which makes me wonder, is it a jealousy thing? I don't know. They just opened up their new $2 billion airport here in Phnom Penh, which is absolutely amazing, and copped a lot of attention around the world for it, because it is stunning, absolutely stunning. It's also copped a lot of negative criticism about it because it's 30 minutes out of town, which is no big deal. Most major airports in big cities are not right in the centre of town anyway. So, as I said, leave your comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, please do me a favour, subscribe. We're only a small channel, like to get a little bit bigger. And if you're free, it's 7 p.m. Saturday night, Cambodian time that is, free 7 p.m. Cambodia night, this Saturday night. Jump on. We're doing a live stream, our first ever live stream. And Sophanny will be with me. She's currently out riding her bicycle. She goes bike riding every afternoon. And we'll have a chat. So please join us. Cheers.